In the opening scene, we are introduced to an 11-year-old Eli Miller playing outdoors in the garden under the warm sunlight. Suddenly, he experiences a severe bout of coughing and collapses on the ground, visibly struggling to breathe. His skin then becomes red, making him cry out for assistance. Just then, he wakes up inside a sterile bubble within his room, revealing that it was all just a dream. It turns out that the young boy is suffering from a rare disease that causes severe allergic reactions to the outdoors. This forces him to live his life in protective gear, but he's still got nothing on Bubble Boy. Despite the challenges, Eli receives unwavering love from his mother, who tries to express her affection through the plastic bubble so that he won't feel lonely. We also learn that the daily items used by Eli need thorough sterilization and placement in a bag before washing. His clothes come in airtight bags, and he has to wash himself with wet wipes. Whenever he travels outside, he has to put on a special protective hazmat suit. He'd probably get bullied if he didn't look like such a badass. One day, Eli's parents, Paul and Rose, take him out of the place as they seem to have found a place for his treatment. It appears to be a long journey, so they spend a night at a motel. The next morning, as they prepare to leave, a group of bullies taunt Eli for wearing the protective suit. They even toss a cracker in his way, causing him to stumble. This tears his suit, and he has difficulty breathing. But before anything bad happens, his parents hurriedly seal the torn suit with duct tape, hence saving his life. After an entire day of driving, the family arrives at the treatment center, which turns out to be an old mansion that has been modernized and quarantined. At first, Eli is sent through a decontamination process, followed by his parents. Once inside, they're received by Dr. Horn, who's been using this treatment for years on various kids. Despite the doctor's assurance that it's safe and Eli can remove his protective suit, the boy remains skeptical. As they make their way to their room, Eli curiously asks if she has saved any other children. However, the latter evades the question and simply promises to make him better. Just then, they hear an unusual noise coming from the ceiling, which Horn attributes to the air filtration process. Eli also spots a small dark corridor where he catches a fleeting glimpse of a girl, but she quickly vanishes. When he questions Horn about the area, she simply deems it unsafe for him and proceeds forward. She then leads them to Eli's room and shows them a bathroom with filtered water. The little boy nervously removes his suit, and to his delight, nothing bad happens. Now, he's finally able to hug his parents after years of isolation. Later, Eli takes a shower, shedding tears of joy as he relishes a sense of normalcy. As night falls, he struggles to sleep due to strange noises echoing through his room. Soon, his attention is drawn to a bug repeatedly hitting the window. He gets up to check, only to see a small foggy patch resembling someone's breath. Moments later, he's startled by a handprint on the fog, which prompts him to run to his parents' room for the night.
Mom, Dad, there's an invisible pedo sneaking peeks out there.
The following morning, Horn leads Eli to the operating room to initiate the first stage of the treatment. There, nurses change his outfit, record his weight, and capture some photographs. Intrigued by the pictures, Eli questions the nurse, but she playfully warns him against asking questions. After this, he is tied to the table, and a special contraption is used to hold his head in place, making him nervous. Horn then begins to explain the science behind this treatment, while injecting him with some unknown substances. However, Eli is distracted by the creepy reflection he sees on the back of a chair. Before he can inquire about it, he is knocked out cold. Upon regaining consciousness, Eli experiences intense pain caused by burning skin. He desperately pleads to be released, but to no avail. Suddenly, he jolts awake in his room, realizing it was merely a nightmare. He then gets up to look through the window and sees a girl named Haley throwing stones. She invites him to meet her, and Eli, who is eager to connect, rushes downstairs. They introduce themselves and start bonding over their shared interest in magic. Eli attempts to demonstrate a card trick, but she surprises him by igniting fire in her hand. "That was some David Blaine shit," says Eli. He then invites her inside, but she refuses, explaining that the place is creepy. After Haley leaves, Eli heads back to his room. In the corridor, he spots a creepy girl, causing him to be startled. At the same time, the lights go out, and he notices that the girl is chasing him. Frightened, he tries to run away, but stumbles and falls as the lights flicker. A spooky shadow behind a curtain adds to his fear. However, he's relieved to learn that it's just his father, creeping on his ass, who scolds him for wandering alone in the house. During dinner, Eli confides his frightening experiences in his parents, but they don't believe him. That That night, he reads a magic book to understand the trick demonstrated by Haley earlier. During this, his attention is caught by an oddly shaped curtain. He walks forward to check, but finds no one. Following this, the boy proceeds to write his name on the foggy glass. To his horror, someone erases the letter E of his name and adds it at the end, turning it into lie. Startled, he steps backward, only to get bumped into his wardrobe. In its mirror, he sees a reflection of a ghost girl, leaving him truly terrified. Eli tries to crawl away, but a hand grabs his legs, prompting him to scream in fear. However, he sees that it's his parents trying to calm him down. Later, they discuss his experiences with Horn, and she claims it to be the side effects of the medication. According to her, one needs to get worse before getting better. The next day, Eli undergoes the second phase of treatment. Once again, his hands and legs are fastened to the bed, and additional devices are attached to his head this time. As Horn administers the injection, Eli's skin starts burning, causing him excruciating pain. To his bad luck, Horn says that the virus intended to cure him is unable to breach the blood-brain barrier. As a result, she drills a hole into his skull, causing the boy to lose consciousness in agony. This movie is rated R for skull holes. Later, at the dining table, Eli tells his parents that he feels the doctors are making him sicker and expresses his wish to leave. But this only makes Paul angry, so he gives Eli an ultimatum to stay and get better or leave and remain sick forever. Eventually, the boy changes his mind, agreeing to stay and continue the treatment. The same night, he hears a noise coming from the bathroom, prompting him to investigate. He sees a shadow behind the shower curtain, but when he pushes them aside, there's nothing. While closing the tap on the sink, he spots another scary figure in the mirror. Startled, he tries to run away, but the door is locked. This forces him to hide inside a wardrobe. The ghost then shatters the mirror and begins shaking the wardrobe. When the boy doesn't come out, it pushes the wardrobe to the floor before disappearing. A while later, Eli finally steps out and discovers the word lie inscribed repeatedly into the wardrobe door. What is Eli lying about? Could it be that he doesn't actually like magic? Hearing the commotion, Rose, Paul, and Horn enter the room and think that Eli broke the furniture. They then sit him down to discuss what's troubling him. Eli tries to explain what he's experiencing, but no one believes him. Later on, he meets Haley and confides in her about the haunting feeling in the mansion. In response, she tells him about a previous patient, Perry, who also had similar experiences.
Did Perry get better?
Asks Eli. No, he died. Just kidding. However, she never saw him again after the third stage of his treatment. Haley then strongly urges Eli to leave the place before the third stage of treatment, but he explains that survival in the outside atmosphere is not an option. Suddenly, the lights inside the house begin to flicker. Seeing this, Eli asks Haley to wait and goes to check. Moments later, some strange forces push him to the ground and begin dragging him to the decontamination door. As he screams, he sees that he's being pulled by 3 ghosts, probably previous patients. The ghosts also open the main door, triggering a negative reaction in his body. Thankfully, his parents and Horn arrive just in time to rescue him. Eli then accuses Horn of killing Perry with her treatment, but she refuses to acknowledge him. In the midst of the chaos, the boy accidentally hits his arm on the fire alarm. This causes him to bleed, and he eventually passes out. Upon regaining consciousness, he overhears Horn discussing his condition with his parents. She admits that the treatment isn't producing the desired effects and advises them to convince their son to continue taking medicines on time. Following this, Eli's mother goes to his room to give him the medicine, which she politely puts in his mouth. Seeing this, his mother gives him a consoling hug. During this, he suddenly notices the scratches made by the ghost on the wardrobe and realizes that it isn't a word, but some numbers written upside down. After his mother leaves, he spits out the medicine, revealing that he didn't ingest it. Meanwhile, Horn burns Eli's suit in an effort to stop him from escaping. In his next meeting with Haley, Eli recounts his ghostly encounters as well as the discovery that the word lie is actually the inverted number 317. As they discuss, Haley speculates that the number might be a code for a door. Later, at midnight, Eli sneaks out of his room and uses the same passcode to access the forbidden room. Meanwhile, Rose gets into an argument with her husband because he had been hiding a fact. Eli's survival after the treatment treatment is actually uncertain. Rose, who isn't ready to lose her child, decides to leave the place and begins loading their stuff in the car, but Horn intervenes and manages to convince her to stay, asserting that there is still hope. Back at the forbidden room, Eli finds the treatment files of the last 3 patients, Perry, Agnes, and Lucius, all of whom perished during the 3rd stage of treatment. Shocked, he rushes to inform his parents about this. However, he only finds his father and confides in him. Paul pretends to listen calmly and hugs him for comfort. However, it turns out to be a trap, as he deceitfully injects him with an anesthetic. Even though the drug doesn't work, the nurses come to take the protesting Eli to the operating room. On the way, the boy bites one of the nurses and shoves the other away, freeing himself. He then runs to the forbidden room to retrieve the files, but learns that the nurses have hidden everything. Desperate, Eli seizes a knife from the table to threaten them and escapes into Horn's room. There, he finds a photograph that reveals that Horn and her nurses are all nuns. Right then, a bug appears and guides him to a secret door in the room. Upon opening it, he finds creepy stairs leading to an underground chamber. It houses a small Christian shrine and a lidded pit. Suddenly, the door closes from behind, and Eli realizes that his parents and Horn have locked him inside. In an attempt to shield himself from the atmospheric reaction, Eli covers his mouth with his clothes, but his efforts prove futile. His face eventually turns red, causing him to collapse on the ground. However, after taking a few deep breaths, his skin reverts to normal, which finally makes him realize that his illness has always been a lie. On the other hand, Horn and the nurses prepare the operating room to carry out the 3rd phase of the treatment. A short while later, Rose hears her son crying and decides to check on him. However, it turns out to be a ploy, as the boy strikes her and flees the scene. He heads to a room with a large glass window and tries to break it with a fire extinguisher for an escape. Sadly, the window is unbreakable, unlike the windows of a Cybertruck, and Paul apprehends him with the help of the nurses. They then take him to the operating room. Back in the underground bunker, Rose stumbles upon a cross containing a dagger. She also checks the pit and witnesses a gruesome sight: the rotten bodies of the previous patients. Finally realizing that her son was right, she rushes to the operating room and threatens Horn with the dagger. However, Paul intervenes and calms her down, assuring her that he'll help her. He manages to take the dagger from her hand and unexpectedly hands it over to Horn. It's pretty expected if you ask me. Sensing the betrayal, Rose panics, but Paul holds her back and the ritual begins. Horn pours holy water on Eli, triggering a severe skin reaction. She then grabs the dagger and proceeds to stab him, but an unseen force stops her from doing so. Turns out that it's Eli using his telepathic powers. What? He turns the dagger around and kills Horn instead. Then he lights the bindings on fire and frees himself from captivity. With his skin glowing red, the boy goes through a full demonic transformation. Using his powers, he makes the nurses float around him and burns them alive. Following this, Eli confronts Rose, seeking the truth about his identity. She finally reveals that she couldn't have children no matter how much she prayed. Desperate to be a mother, she turned to Satan. He eventually granted her a baby, but it wasn't normal. As a result, she had been trying everything possible to make him normal. Amidst their conversation, Paul advances with the sacrificial dagger, but Eli kills him by crushing his face telekinetically.
You, Dad.
After spreading the fire through the mansion with a mere touch of his feet, Eli goes outside and the fresh air helps him put the transformation away. He also finds Haley, who explains that she, as well as all the dead patients, are also children of Satan. She further admits that she was unable to tell him because he had to find and prove his own strength in order to earn his place. She then offers to take Eli to his biological father. When he accepts, Haley wonders if Eli can trust his mother. In response, he accepts the coat that Rose offers, indicating that he can. The movie ends with Rose driving the 2 children away from the burning facility. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.